And Coulter appeared on Real Time with Bill Maher and completely dismantled an entire panel of so-called woke commentators, including Joy Reid, someone many of you are likely familiar with. Let's dive into this clip where Coulter doesn't just challenge Bill Maher or Reid, but methodically dismantles the entire panel's arguments. Her skill at breaking down their worldview is remarkable, leaving these woke warriors visibly stunned. It's often entertaining to watch when the camera cuts to the faces of these guests during Coulter's appearances. They're often left speechless. A perfect example was in yesterday's segment, where I highlighted her debate with Piers Morgan. The shock on their faces was evident. They were left with their jaws on the floor, completely unable to counter her points. Now let's get into the latest clip, where Coulter once again demonstrates her unmatched ability to eviscerate the arguments of her opponents. This time, it's on Real Time, with Joy Reid and the rest of the panel struggling to respond to her direct and unapologetic critique of their position.
Who cares?
Why on earth would we dismiss concerns about the 50 or 50 million as if it doesn't matter? That's such a ridiculous argument. It's like saying, why worry about the small percentage of people committing murder when the majority of the population isn't? Seriously, think about that logic. Why worry about the crime rate when there are so many people who aren't committing crimes? It's absurd. It's the same flawed reasoning here. Why worry about the illegal immigrants when there are so many immigrants who are here legally? The point isn't about ignoring the law-abiding majority. It's about addressing the issues caused by the minority who break the law. Dismissing the problem just because the majority is doing the right thing is a weak argument, and honestly, you can see the guy making this case is completely out of his depth. He's already lost the debate to Coulter right there. She didn't even need to do much to expose how nonsensical that line of thinking is. Oh man, talk about something aging poorly. This couldn't have aged worse. Not only did Donald Trump take the White House again, but the left, including Joy Reid, is now blaming Latinos for Trump's victory. The irony is almost too much. This whole narrative has completely fallen apart, and watching it now is just chef's kiss. I'm so glad I stumbled across this moment. It's a perfect example of how out of touch some of these takes were. Absolutely priceless.
All right, but that didn't exactly answer her question.
Can I attempt to answer
Yes.
your question, Ms. Coulter? Because I think one of the things that we have to do in this country is to stop lying. We were earlier talking and touched on the issue of slavery. Ever since the forcible removal of millions of African Americans from chattel slavery, this country has been importing new slave labor.
That's right.
Because this country wants and runs and is fueled by cheap labor.
That's
whether it was Puerto Ricans, whether it was people we drew from Mexico to come here and continue to do so because the people who are on your side, big agriculture.
Not my side,
big
but I agree.
agriculture, the big corporate interests who want people to come.
Well, she does say that.
I agree with you.
Okay, well, once we bring people here, people's family members, people whose families are born here, are American. Both my parents are immigrants. So I take great exception to any kind of negative characterization of them. I had one come from Africa, my mother came from the Caribbean. When they came here, they came for the same reason that everyone does, for opportunity, for education. And when they're contributing to our society and they have a child here, like me, I'm a first-generation American, and I'm fully American, despite the fact that both my parents were born outside of this country.
If you find our content really interesting, please like and subscribe to the channel. It helps us a lot. Now, let's go back to the video.
That also doesn't answer my point, though it buttresses one of the main points I am making. Yeah, this is cheap labor, and particularly...
But then why isn't the book called Thugs?
Well...
How corporate Republicans are decimating the middle class.
How long do I have to wait? Stupid.
Okay.
In fact, as I told Scott, that's the one error in the book, the title. I didn't argue. You haven't read the book.
I've read it 3 times.
But I'll tell you what's in it.
On the plane, in the hot tub, once high, once straight.
It is far more of an attack on Republicans, on big business, on the Chamber of Commerce than it is on the left.
I agree.
I didn't want a subject at all, but if I listed all the people who are trying to turn our country into a third world hellhole, it would go on to the back page.
Let me ask you something personal.
Look, the question is still... I'm glad you're here, but why should America care that other people of the world are happy? They should care about the ones who are here now, including you.
And all the fruit you eat, all the vegetables you eat, They are all picked by foreign labor.
They could be picked by machines. These are all people going to be on welfare soon. Yes, there are machines that can now pick strawberries.
You cannot
strawberries,
pick them.
tomatoes, and you don't have to pay them Social Security.
Picked by machines.
You don't. That's
they're
because
picked by people who come to this country with their families.
All right.
You know what? But you won't recognize the justice of their labor.
The answer is you can mechanize all of this.
We're not going to. You know what? This is over.
I talked over and I couldn't answer.
Yeah, I know.
What are they even saying? Do you need to be some kind of genius to pick fruit? It can be done by machines, toddlers, literally anyone. Honestly, in some of the corrupt countries these people are fleeing from, it probably is being done by children. The sheer ignorance of these arguments is astounding. I can't believe people can be this disconnected from reality. Look, I know I'm no genius, but the bar is so low, here it's laughable. If it weren't for the audience cheering every time someone opposed Ann Coulter, or as I almost mistakenly called her, Anna Kasparian, these people would look like complete fools. It's the classic case of the audience, and Bill Maher propping them up. If this were a fair debate without interruptions or biased applause, Coulter's opponents would be exposed as totally inept. Even in this heavily stacked 4-on-1 setup. Scratch that if you count the audience, it's more like 104-on-1, and Coulter still absolutely annihilated them. It wasn't even close. Thank you for your interest.